This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are on November the 30th, 2023. Last day of the month. We're heading into the Christmas season. And, we're gonna beat everybody to it because, we're kind of celebrating the 35th anniversary of Scrooged. Yes. The movie where Bill Murray gets assaulted with a toaster. By Carol Kane, so that's okay, folks. Well, folks, here to help me celebrate that, we have, well, I guess you could say in all fairness, Bill Murray's mom in the film.
In a flashback.
In a flashback.
Yes.
Folks, I give you the absolutely lovely Lisa Mende. How do you do, Lisa?
I'm very well, Greg. How about you?
I'm doing fine. My apologies getting on here a little late. I'm just everything. But I thank you
Life
for your
does that
patience.
sometimes.
Yeah, that happens. But nonetheless, we are heading into that Christmas season. Are you ready for Christmas?
Bah humbug.
You know what? I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of like, you know what? I leave all that stuff to my cat, and he hasn't done anything. And I'm like, okay. I'm like,
I'm over it already. Once they start Christmas carols after Halloween, I'm done. I'm over it. On to the next.
you know what? I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's the lead singer of a band in Toronto, and he said that he's still got his Halloween decorations up.
Sure. Yep.
Um, you know, I don't know. I always loved Christmas growing up, but I'm looking forward to 2024 because I know 2023 has been a rough year for me, personally, but the show here is done well. So I've had a lot of great guests on here, and I want to first off acknowledge Tommy Kovac, who sends you very high praise.
Oh, that's nice. Very
Mhm.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
he just interviewed another friend of mine, which was really weird because she came from a completely different place, but it was a little odd, a little serendipitous, I guess.
Well, he often will send ideas to me for guests, if he like uh he's one of these podcasts there's a few of us podcasters that uh keep in touch with each other, and if he had a really good time with a guest, he'll reach out to me and he'll say, "Hey, you should reach out to this person. She or he's an absolute delight." So
Well, that's nice to hear. That's not what most people say about me, but it's nice to hear.
do they say bah humbug like Scrooge?
No, they don't. I was
No.
just kidding.
Well, it's interesting because Scrooge, of course, came out in 1988, the year I turned 16. So
Oh,
my
shut up.
yeah, my driver's license year.
Wow. Well, I was only 18 when I made the film, but they put makeup on me that made me look like an old lady.
There you go. I'll buy that. I'll
Okay,
buy
you
that.
should.
We
All
can't
right.
we can't speak of Bill Murray that way, mind you. But I do need to know. What was it like being around all those Murray brothers? Because I mean, you had Bill, you had Brian Doyle Murray, you had John Murray.
Joel.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was in
Uh,
there too.
yeah, I worked with Brian Doyle, and he and David Johansen were hung out a lot together. David Buster Poindexter. played the cab driver. They were very
Uh-huh.
interesting to watch, very interesting to watch. And I learned a lot actually from Brian Doyle because the first movie I had done, which was the movie before Scrooged, was a film called Hollywood Shuffle, which was done on no budget. So everything had to be done quickly and then pack up and run. Um, so I thought when you did your close up, you had to do it really fast. And then I watched Brian Doyle lie down on the couch and take his hat and pull it down over his eyes. And I thought, oh, you can take your time on your own close up. So I learned something from watching him. He was great. Bill was delightful. Bill was really fun. So yeah.
I always got the biggest kick out of Bill's interactions with Carol Kane, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's just
Carol was great.
abusing him. I love Carol Kane.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, like she smacks him in the face with the toaster and
With that sweet little voice.
that sweet little voice, you know.
Yeah.
Yep, and she's like grabbing his face and slapping. Oh,
Yeah, she's
I
adorable.
love I love Carol Kane in this movie. Yeah, yeah, this is a staple for me every year at Christmas time, you know, and of course the film was directed by Richard Donner. Now, you
I
talk
know.
about yeah, I've heard so many great things about him. I mean, he did The Omen, he did Superman, he did, of course, Superman 2, the Donner cut. And I've interviewed a couple people that were involved in those. Um, he done oh gee, the Lethal Weapon movies, conspiracy theory, and of course he does Scrooged. I mean, the guy had I think he's one of the most underrated directors in
He was
history.
lovely. He was really lovely to work with.
I
And
hear that.
my audition was unlike any other audition had ever done. I went to the casting director, a guy named David Rubin,
Hmm.
and he said, "You know what? The director is just down the hall. Let me just bring you down there." So I walk in, there's Richard Donner, and he said, stand up. And he said, can you do a New Jersey accent? I said, I'm from New Jersey. He said, great. He said, turn around. He said, do you smoke? And I said, yes. And he said, great. You're nice and skinny. We're going to make you really pregnant. And yeah, and I said to him, that's it? And he said, yeah. He said, okay, read the lines from it. I read the lines from it. He said, okay, great. It was the easiest audition. And it was the first major film I had ever been in because Hollywood Shuffle was so low budget. And I thought, wow, this is pretty easy, which of course it was an anomaly in Hollywood. But boy, and he was so kind. He was a really lovely guy.
What you had mentioned, of course, work with Brian Doyle Murray, and you touched on Bill. What was your impressions on Bill Murray from meeting him?
Well, he was very nice to me.
Mhm.
I was like the new kid on the block, and he was very sweet. And I'd say things like, I have to leave, I have to go to my acting class. And he'd say, you don't need an acting class. And at the cast party, he walked over to me and he gave me a bunch of tickets to Disneyland. And he was very sweet, very, very sweet to me. But, I was a nobody, so he, he, he was just really nice to me.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Bill, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's great.
absolutely. Um, do you watch Scrooge at Christmas time every year?
No, I don't watch anything. I did all those episodes of Seinfeld. I've never watched the show. So I watch very little TV, and my husband and I like to watch English murder mysteries. That's pretty much
Oh,
our thing. Yeah.
you know what? It's interesting you say that because my television, I got my Blu-ray player set up where I can watch my Blu-rays, but I don't really have TV because, unlike when I grew up, with my folks, today there's so much reality TV and stuff like that. I'm just not interested, and so I figure I'm usually either working or sleeping or doing an interview, or occasionally I might have a moment where I can do something else, but yeah, I'm like, I don't have a lot of time for television, which is strange.
Well, I'm the worst person to watch television or even a movie because you watch with a different critical eye when you've been in the business. And I'll say things like last night, her lipstick wasn't red in the last scene, or her hair was parted to the right. All the things that you wouldn't notice, but if you've been in the business long enough, like with Scrooged, I was smoking a filterless cigarette. Every time they'd yell cut, the script supervisor would come over and she would measure the cigarette and they'd cut the cigarette exactly that size so that it didn't jump around when you shot it again. So I'm always watching things like that. So I'm really a terrible person to watch TV or film with. And my husband was in the business as well. So between the two of us, we're not, we're not easy on TV.
Um, did your husband and yourself ever work on a project together?
No. Mm-mm.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I know we jumped ahead to Scrooge, but I would like to get a little bit of your background and what led you to get into the business.
Oh my goodness. I always wanted to be an actor
Uh-huh.
since I was a little girl. It was the only thing I wanted to do. And so I did it. I mean, my mother would say, no, you should go back to school, get a degree in this, because I already had a degree in theater, which is, of course, useless. She'd say, just in case you have something to fall back on. I said, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to be an actor. So I was really lucky. Hollywood Shuffle, we did as friends, and Sam Goldwyn bought it, and it gave me an instant entree into LA. And then, I was lucky with Scrooged. And then it saved me years and years of pounding on doors, Hollywood Shuffle, because I went to Hollywood with a popular film. So I really, really, really was lucky.
Yeah, Hollywood Shuffle. You say that was a no budget film? Is that what you
No
did
budget.
I?
Robert had no money. He would ask when he would do a film, he'd ask the director if he could have the short ends of the film and he'd splice it all together. He had one scene that he had done, Death of a Break Dancer, and he told us all the ideas that he had for the show, for the movie, and we improvised. And we were all friends. So he would say, this is the idea for the scene, and we would improvise, and we got some great stuff. But he put everything on his credit card. He maxed out his credit cards. And then, Sam Goldwyn Company saw it. And amazingly enough, they bought it. We all got our union cards. And it was, a real bit of luck. We did it because we were friends and it was fun. Keenan Wayne and Damon Wayne and all those people. It was just fun. It was a whole stand-up community.
Yeah,
So it was great.
those guys are funny,
Yeah.
What was your reaction first time seeing yourself on a movie screen?
Horrifying. There's nothing worse than seeing your face on this huge screen of God, especially since I'm a character actor. So I'm not going, oh my God, my profile, my hair, everything's beautiful. Oh God, oh, look at my nose. I mean, it's the worst thing. It's the scariest thing in the world.
Ah,
Really scary.
you're hard on yourself.
Well, I don't think so, but thanks.
Well, how do you feel about the fact that Scrooged is a holiday classic now, and you're part of that?
I love that. I love being part of something happy in people's lives. I've had people say to me, my family and I watch that movie every Christmas, and that really makes me feel good. It's nice to know that your work makes somebody happy. I did one of those Comic-Con things, and people would come over and say, when I have a bad day, I watch something that you're in, and I laugh. And because you think I'm an actor. I'm not like a surgeon or a physicist. I'm not really doing anything for humanity. But then someone says you made a difference in my life, and that feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because John Glover, of course, is in Scrooge, and of course he's
yeah.
in also in Gremlins 2, the new batch, and you're in that.
And so am I.
Yeah. Well, you
No,
know what?
yeah,
John Glover is one of my favorite elements of Gremlins 2 because he's so unlike what he's presented as at the beginning of the movie. He's like the total opposite than what we're expecting him to be, and I that blew me away with that film.
Well, John Paragon and I were his henchmen. Oh no, no, Gremlins 2. No, Gremlins 2 was, yeah, right. No, sorry, I'm thinking of Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. You
Hmm.
know, my brain. But yeah, he's a wonderful actor and a nice guy. I mean, really, people want to hear you say terrible things about actors. I've worked with a handful of actors that weren't nice. Pretty much everybody's really nice. They know they're part of a, they're lucky. They got a job that they love, and they make most of them do very well at it.
Hmm. Well, with Gremlins 2, it's funny because I had just the other day interviewed Jim McCrell, who was featured as a newscaster in the first Gremlins, and with I've interviewed a few people from the Gremlins movie. I had Dick Miller on the show here 5 months before he passed away. I was very lucky I got him when I did, and he was very, very nice. And
And talk
um,
about another great director, Joe Dante.
I was just going to
Great
bring him
director.
up.
Yeah,
I love Joe Dante, like,
yeah.
you know, he had done, like, you could tell when you're watching one of his films, you could see his fingerprint on it, like whether it's The Howling, Gremlins, Piranha, what have you, Joe Dante had a certain kind of image on his films, and I'm glad Steven Spielberg worked with him for Gremlins because Gremlins certainly was special. And then I saw Gremlins to the new batch in the theaters when that came out, and I love some of the innovation they did with that in terms of number one, the shopping center or shopping high rise. Great idea for a place for the Gremlins because there's just so many different places they could get into. And number two, the chemicals um, that had the Gremlins all come out differently. I definitely get a kick out of the talking Gremlins because I remember the audience reacting when he just started talking and rambling on. And
They
um,
were very cute.
yeah.
My scene, I got to be up close and personal. So they were really cute. The scary gremlins were really cute. I thought anyway.
Yeah, I did. And you of course play IMD got you listed as a yogurt customer. And now I got to admit, I love yogurt myself.
It was, it was a lot of fun. And all, like Dick Donner and Joe Dante were the kind of directors that would let you add things or use words or change things. They say, "What do you want to do? What do you think you'd say?" Blah 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 blah. Very relaxed because they were so good at what they were doing. So both of those shoots were very easy and relaxing. Because like with Dick Donner at the end when she says "Merry Christmas, Frankie Angel," that
Hmm.
wasn't in the script. He said, what do you think she would say?" And I said, "Well, I think she'd say this." And he said, "Great, that's what she'll say." Very relaxed and easygoing, which was
Absolutely,
really
absolutely.
lovely. Yeah.
What was it like the set like for Gremlins 2? Because that
Oh,
looked
it's
like a fun
amazing.
set. Yeah.
It was like a huge mall. It was
Hmm.
amazing. I can't, I think it was a real mall. I don't think it wasn't a soundstage. It was a real mall. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, I remember, like I said, I saw that in the theater when it came out in 1990, and it was like, I like the fact, and I guess they're gonna be making a Gremlins 3, and I hope that they do. I'm hoping for something innovative out of that film because I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I don't. I love Phoebe Cates, but I don't think she acts anymore. Do you have any
Everybody's aged. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of Phoebe? I gotta ask that because I love Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and I've always loved
No,
Phoebe. Yeah.
no.
So they list you as a yogurt customer. I gotta ask a different question here. What's your favorite kind of yogurt?
Well, I would have to say something in the chocolate variety, frozen yogurt, regular yogurt. You know, it's okay. I don't eat a lot of it, but frozen yogurt, I like sort of chocolate or coffee, that kind of stuff.
One of
That's
my
kind of ice cream
favorite,
I like too.
yeah. One of my favorite things to eat is fruit salad with yogurt, you know? So
It's way too healthy for me. Much too healthy for me.
I love it. I love it. I wish I ate healthier than I do, but that is one of my favorite foods there. Um, and of course, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, you know. I um I have a lot of admiration for Rick Moranis because Rick Moranis, of course, I didn't know this until the last few years when I was like, whatever happened to him? And I find out his wife had passed away and he kind of left the business
To
to
raise his
raise
kids.
his kids.
Yeah,
I have so much respect
yeah,
for him on that.
yeah.
It says something about him because obviously he saved his money very well and he was able to do that, and he had no qualms about stepping away. His priorities were in order. That took a lot because he was in Ghostbusters, Little Shop of Horrors, Honey I Shrunk the Kid franchise, and like he turned down being in the latest Ghostbusters film, and I have a lot of respect for him, you know. What was your experience doing Honey, I Blew Up the Kid?
Well, it was a lot of fun because I was working with John Paragon, God rest his soul, who comes out of the Groundlings, like Cassandra, Peterson, Elvira. They all come out of the Groundlings. And so John and I had a really good time working together. And, you know, it was fun. Everybody, I mean, when you work on something that's already a success, everybody's happy and relaxed, and we had a good time doing it. Um, and John and I think one of our last shots, they wanted to get a picture of us, our reflections in the computer, and we had been shooting all day, and we were like giggle tired, like crying, laughing tired. Every time they would say action, we would start to laugh. I mean, we did it like 4 or 5 times, thinking we just want to get the shot. And we go, okay, this time we'll really do it. And then we'd start and we'd laugh. He was really fun to work with. You know, I worked with some odd people, like the parents of the kids were pretty odd. Baby actors, their parents are pretty weird, but it was fun. What isn't fun when you're doing what you love, you know?
Well, John Paragon was in one of my favorite comedies of the 80s called UHF, and I thought he was so funny in that, playing Kevin McCarthy's son.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, Carrie Russell, that was my introductory to her, was Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and she sees the kid in the doorway, faints, then wakes up tied to a chair. I thought that was funny, but and she's gone on to have quite the career herself. So yeah. Um, you've done a lot of television, and I'm looking up through here because I saw Nothing to Lose in the theater as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, where with Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence.
yeah.
Yep.
Written by Steve Vodaker. He's a great guy and a good, really good writer as
Oh
well.
yeah. Not only that, he was in Kung Pao Into the Fist, which I thought was hilarious, you know. But I'm trying to bring up where is that film? Yes, The Fourth Tenor. I wanted to bring that film
Oh,
up because I'm a
oh,
big Rodney Dangerfield fan.
I think that was his last film. And that was really an interesting film because, oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting. Harry Basil.
Uh-huh.
Co-wrote it, I think, with Rodney. I think Harry had a big part of it. And the woman that they had cast in my role, I won't say who it was, but there was something weird that happened, and they gave her the boot. And that she was supposed to shoot the next day, and I got a phone call from Harry Basil saying, "Could you come on set and do this part?" And I said, "Yeah, of course," because Dom was in it, and Dom and I were married at the time. So I went and I got to work with Rodney, which was really, really fun. And the greatest compliment at the cast party, his gorgeous, beautiful, lovely wife came over to me and said, "I should hate you." And I said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Rodney loves you. He thought you were great. He wants to use you in his next film." But I know he didn't last that long, but that was really a compliment.
What was it like working with Rodney?
It was wonderful. And I had met him because Dom did one of his first all-star comedy specials, Dom and a few other really great comedians. He was wonderful. And Rodney was the kind of person, if he saw a young comedian that had talent, he would help foster them. He was greatly loved.
So you gave him respect.
I certainly did. And I was in awe of him too. I mean, come on, it's Rodney Dangerfield.
I've always loved Rodney, you know. So I felt bad. I remember the morning I was heading to work, and at the time I was working at our family business, and my father was I was accompanying him to work, and I remember hearing on the news when Rodney had passed away in 2004, and I was like, "Oh, we lost one of the great ones," you know, because I always liked Rodney, you know, Back to School, Caddyshack, Easy Money. I mean, Rodney was always hilarious, and so I had to ask you about the fourth tenor because I mean, Rodney was a great scene stealer. Even in something like Natural Born Killers, it was so odd yet interesting to see him in something like that, you know, and
I thought it was great casting, really great casting.
yeah. Now, you've done a lot of television. Now, I don't watch television, but I definitely know a lot of these shows. Like I know that you're famous for the Seinfeld, you know, and but you aside from even Seinfeld, you've done a tremendous amount of television. We can't touch upon them all, but I was wondering if you
Good,
would take if
good.
if you would take two or three of your favorite experiences on television and various shows, and like what were your favorites, most memorable work on television that hit a happy stride with you?
Well, besides Seinfeld,
Hmm.
a show that probably nobody's ever heard of because it only lasted one season called The Amazing Teddy Z, which was filled with the best actors ever, but it was too in. It was a true story about a kid who worked in the mailroom at, I think, William Morris Agency, who was sent to an airport to pick up either Marlon Brando or Jack Nicholson. And he went to pick them up. And he worked in the mailroom, and they were really rude to him. And he said to them, "Who the hell do you think you're talking to?" I mean, he had nothing to lose. And he yelled at them for being so rude. And the story goes, and I think it's true, he went back to the agency and he said, "I want this kid to be my agent." And they said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "He's the only one that wouldn't take any shit off of me. I want him to be my agent." So The Amazing Teddy C was based on that. It was a brilliant show, great actors, a lot of fun, but it only lasted like, I don't even know if it went 13, but it only was, a quick show, but it was great. And I liked working with John Larroquette. He was really lovely. Did a
Oh,
couple of his
I
shows.
love
I
John
loved working with
Larroquette.
Bob Newhart. Did a couple of
Yeah.
Bob Newharts. I loved working with him. I mean, these are people. No one's ever heard of these people because they're so old. But they were really fun.
Oh, I remember John Larroquette's show, and I remember him especially on Night Court. You know, I thought he was so hilarious as
Yeah,
Dan Fielding, and of course Bob Newhart. You know,
yeah.
yep. Yeah, you've done a lot of great television, moonlighting. You're in that.
Oh my God. Yeah. So you're really going back to the past. Yep.
Yeah. So, well, you're what, 39 years old. So, I mean,
Right. I just look a little older because I've had a really tough life.
yeah, let's go with that,
Yeah.
huh? But absolutely. So what have you been doing lately, because I know the last thing you got listed on IMDb was Other People's Children, which was a short.
An independent film, yeah. I have been doing a lot of, I have a 501c3, a not-for-profit, where we raise money for underserved communities. I MC a lot of charitable events. I still work occasionally. I have three grandchildren, so I spend
Mhm.
time with them. I sell vintage clothing and buy vintage clothing. So I do a lot of different things besides acting.
Oh,
Teach
fantastic.
occasionally. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. Um, Now, of course, we mentioned Scrooge and of course Christmas coming up. What's the Christmas tradition for you?
Well, lighting the menorah,
Okay.
because I'm Jewish.
Nothing
That's
wrong
my
with
Christmas
that.
tradition.
Yeah.
No, of course not. But
No.
we do celebrate both holidays with the grandchildren, so they get a taste of both of them.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I love the nonprofit you bring up because I always ask people about charities on here, so you beat me to that. Um, I just started doing the convention scene in 2017 when one of my guests invited me to assist her at one. I've since done three with her, but do you? I think you had mentioned the convention scene earlier. I was just wondering, what's the most unique thing you've ever been asked to autograph?
A doll, a baby doll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know any circumstance surrounding that, or it was just?
Well, they were focused on Seinfeld. Larry, who played the soup Nazi, was next to me, and
Mm-hmm.
they would do that sort of thing. Go see Larry, go see me, and they wanted me to say the most, the line from the first Seinfeld episode that I did, and then because there were babies and that and the ugly baby, they wanted me to sign a baby doll. So that was the weirdest thing I signed.
Is that what you're recognized for the most, is Seinfeld, or?
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, I can have a hat down to here and it can be pitch black nightclub and people go, "Oh my God." I don't know if it's my voice or what, but um, I get recognized still after all of these years, no matter where I am. I could be in any part of the country, which is very, very bizarre. And I guess I should do a shameless plug here. I do Cameo, so if you want a message, you can always find me on Cameo to do a message. I've only done so far the ugly baby or the mom of the first baby. I've only done the you got to see the baby stuff, but I'm open to anything. So if you want a cameo, look me up.
There you go. There you go. Um, I should ask what was it like on set for Seinfeld, because that show was huge.
It was I knew all of those people from the stand-up community in New York. We pretty much started at the Improv of Catch a Rising Star, and slowly people moved out. I moved out when Hollywood Shuffle, but people moved out before, and so I knew them, and I had to audition for it. It's very hard to audition in front of your friends, but I knew this character so well because I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, where that's how they act and talk. Going on set was delightful because I knew them, and then going back and back and back, they got more and more successful. So great craft service, everybody's in a good mood. The show's a huge success. It was probably the best television experience I've ever had. without a doubt.
One thing I want to touch upon with um, Jerry Seinfeld is that that show was such a huge, huge hit. But it's interesting because outside B movie, you didn't see him, and I bet you he was approached a lot to be in movies, but he really didn't go to doing movies. And I kind of respect that because I think it shows that he's got enough confidence in his own ability that he kind of maybe now I could be reading into this wrong, but he strikes me as a guy that, Seinfeld was his big thing. He's a stand-up comedian, and maybe he sees a lot of comedians get typecast in the movies and whatnot. Maybe he didn't want his brand to get overdone with movies. Am I reading that right? Is that how you
I
see
you know,
him?
I really couldn't tell you. I know he loves stand up. I know he did the comedians in cars.
Hmm.
He's phenomenally successful. He doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. He loves doing stand up. They've
Hmm.
surrounded him with arguably the best actors on television. I don't know if you could ever do a show with actors who work as well. They had such great chemistry. So maybe he didn't want to take the chance. I don't know. I mean, he still does stand up all over the place. So he
Hmm.
loves what he's doing. And he's got a family. And so he does what he likes and he can.
And I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I was so delighted to have you come on here today. And of course, Tommy
Thank
Kovac
you.
spoke so highly of you.
That's really sweet. Thank you.
Yep. And like I said, I know I was a few minutes late getting on here. I'm glad you called me because my clock is off here.
Uh-huh.
And but nonetheless, yeah, but the time on my phone and the time on everything else here is a little bit off, and I don't quite grasp that how one gets off the other because they're all set for the same time. But
Very scary, very spooky.
yeah, I think it's my cat. I think my cat did it.
Sure,
You
blame the
know,
cat.
blame the
Sure,
cat.
blame the cat.
You got any pets?
Six cats and two dogs.
Ah, Skittles is loving here, and oh, he's over there curled up asleep.
Oh, let
I love
sleeping
my
cats lie.
well, that and lazy cats. My cat. I keep telling him put the Christmas decorations up. He says he's gonna get to it when he wakes up. I'm like, right, right.
Well, yeah, good luck with that.
He's active when I shake the treat bag, though.
I'm amazed he hasn't climbed the tree, knocked the ornaments off of it.
Well, I don't have any. I don't have a tree up or anything. I go to my brother and his wife's place for Christmas. And I don't put anything up. But I do love seeing the lights. And I remember a few years ago, I was in Toronto for a convention at just at the tail end of October, and of course after Halloween, Christmas stuff right up then. But Christmas in Toronto was beautiful, with the lights and stuff. I'm trying to get moved to Toronto. I'd love to live there,
I
you
did a
know.
film there. I love that city. It's a wonderful, and you can walk the whole city. It's
Yep.
not that big.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that
I
city.
love Toronto, and
Yeah,
it was nice there at Christmas time, and there's just something nice about Christmas, I love seeing all the lights and the innovations of people, and it's generally a happier time, which who doesn't like that? I prefer it be a
right.
happier time, but
People are nice for a month
for
of
a month.
niceness. Yeah.
Well, when I
No one
want
pushes
nice.
you on the subway.
Yeah. You know what? We don't have subways here in New Brunswick, I never on a subway until actress Lisa Langlois invited me to assist her at a horror film convention in Toronto. And That was my introductory. She taught me well on the subways because now when I go to Toronto, I know exactly what I'm doing, you know?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, but nonetheless, I love that. And do you know where I'm located here in New Brunswick? A lot of people don't.
No idea.
Yeah, I'm an hour ahead of East Coast time, so so a lot of people don't realize that there's a time zone there, but
Right.
well, that is the case. But anyway, I thank you so much for coming on
You're
here
very welcome.
today, celebrating 35 years of Scrooged.
Unbelievable. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Well, you should take
And
Bill
you
Murray.
have a great Christmas.
Yes, you should take Bill Murray and his brothers out to caroling.
Okay,
Well, do you think
sure.
they get the voices for that?
Absolutely.
Have Carol Kane conduct it.
There you go.
Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Not at all.
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Hi there. I'm Lisa Mende from Seinfeld and a bunch of other things, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert's show, Pythons in Paradise.
Absolutely. I'm going to say a very Merry Christmas to you, Lisa, and thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're every bit the delight that Tommy Kovac bragged you up
Thank
to
you so
being.
much. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
God bless you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to get out of this now.
I remember those days.